Haskell threw an ink bottle at Baker. I was sitting to the side of Baker, and some of the ink splashed on me. Haskell never threw anything at me.
What were they squabbling about, you remember?
Yes, I know exactly. I could almost word it. Here I sat, Dr. Buchanan right over at my right, Baker at my left. Haskell was off here about 4 seats to the northwest of me in the old convention hall, and had just made a speech that had a different tang to it to the one that he'd been making all along.
About what? What was the subject matter?
Oh, it was corporate control and things like that. And Baker got up and thought he saw an open place in his armor. And he said, I hope after we've heard so much from the gentleman from the delegate from Muskogee in favor of guarding against the predatory tendencies of these corporations, that he'll not now show the cloven foot. And he hadn't more than said it till Haskell was on his feet and said, if you insinuate that, you're a liar, bang! And it struck the desk and splashed over 2 or 3 desks, and mine was one, right next to him. Now that's exactly what happened.
How about today? I understand that some visitors were expected to come down to the convention, and some of you fellows took Alfalfa Bill out and made a sergeant of arms take him out and comb his hair. Is any truth in that?
Well, I never heard of it.
Well, it's just a tale, I think.
I never heard of it. This time when I thought it might be appropriate.
Of course, I try to think of the other fella, and I try to think of how a decision would affect the people as a whole. After all, the people are the ones that's entitled to first consideration, not the governor. And then after much consultation and meditation and trying to determine in my mind whether it's the right and the side of God, well then after I have arrived at that decision, well then I announce my decision and hope that it will be accepted in the right spirit. Sometimes it turns out to be unpopular, but it still don't worry me if I know that I was right in the first place.
In this job, there must be many very heartbreaking moments. Can you remember some of the perhaps disappointments or most heartbreaking moments of these 4 years?
Well, it's always heartbreaking to an individual to do what he feels is right and what he knows is right, and to be misunderstood by people and be criticized for something that he knows that he is right on. And that's always discouraging and heartbreaking. And then sometimes you are disappointed in people that you place trust in important positions. And sometimes the department is not because of any dishonesty on the part of the people, but because of their laxity or because they don't grasp the seriousness of the problems at hand, and things don't turn out well. And that's always disappointing to you, and I've had my share of them, Miss Governor, and I imagine my successor will have his share of them, because with more than 20,000 people working for the state, there are many times that things go wrong that are heartbreaking, and there's nothing you can do about it except take immediate action to try to fix it to where it won't happen again. But where 20,000 human beings are involved in the operation of a government, there's bound to be things happening day after day that are heartbreaking. And many things happen that I never hear about, of course, until months or maybe years after they happen.
What has brought you the greatest satisfaction?
Seeing things
What does the oil industry propose to do about this?
Well, the oil industry, of course, on user taxes, primarily is simply an agency for the collection of those taxes for the federal government. But it's the position of the industry that before we start increasing the gasoline taxes and the highway user taxes to be paid by the general public, that we should first see to it that all such taxes go into the trust fund and be used for the purposes for which the tax was enacted.
Well, tell me, had you long aspired to be Maid of Cotton?
Well, I've heard about the Maid of Cotton since I was a little girl, and it's always been more or less a fairyland, you know, a Cinderella idea. But now that I'm doing it myself, the Cinderella has vanished, and I realize the responsibility of representing the cotton industry and of being a young American woman.